Hello everyone. I'm just hopping on here early for my live that's starting at 11 just to say hi to any early birds on here. I am curious if my sound is working okay, so if you do hop on here, let me know if my sound is working. I have a nifty new microphone that hopefully is going to cut out some of the background noise I often have. So part of the fun of working from home is that we have lots of companions we don't usually have when we are at the office. So for some reason, all of my animals have decided to join me today. And so you might hear from them, just giving you a heads up. So I have Layla, the puppy, lying down beside me, and Mookie, the kitty, is curled up on a chair, and Pookie was just behind me a moment ago. So we'll see if they come in and do any sort of cameos. If you are jumping in here, do tell me where you are coming from. I'm here in San Diego County, California, where we are definitely experiencing some gorgeous spring weather. And no, it's not always that way. It was a little cooler, but today is super beautiful. You can see out my window here. I can't see a whole lot, but it's pretty bright. All right, today we're going to be talking about the Dr. Bronner's label, which is one of my favorite stories. I'm going to read to you a little bit of what I wrote in my book about about how the label was born. So I hope you will enjoy that, and then we'll chat about some of the old but new changes that we have made to our label. So super. So if you are jumping in here, please say hi. Tell me where you're coming from. Let me know who you're watching it with. As I told you, I've got my puppy Layla beside me and my kitty Mookie, and then Pookie was behind me a moment ago. Those aren't their real names, but that's what we call them. Mookie is actually called Hershey because she's a tortoise shell, so she's kind of black and brown. And then Pookie, her real name is Ginny, but that's kind of far too formal for her. She's kind of a timid cat. She really likes to be in Pookie-sized garages, so we'll find her like in a perfect spot that fits her where she can look out, which is, I guess, a good tendency for her. So let me know where you are watching from and who you're watching with. And we're going to be talking about the Dr. Bronner's label and how it came to be so unusual and what are some of the recent updates that we have with it. So I hope you'll enjoy the history and the family and a little bit about my grandfather, Dr. Bronner, and I'll jump into that in just a few minutes. So, trying to do a few more lives this year than I've done in years past, so if there's a topic you would like me to address or some sort of workshop we could do together, let me know. I'd love to hear your ideas. If you have any questions, either about this topic of the label or anything else, I'm used to all of them, let me know. You can write them in the chat. I would love to answer them live if I can. Otherwise, I will answer your questions in writing afterwards. But don't hold back. This is a conversation, and I would love to hear from you too. So I'm going to be starting in just a minute or two at 11 o'clock, talking about the Dr. Bronner's label. Hi, Henry. Glad that you caught a live as well. I saw that last time you missed the live moment, so I'm glad you're here. I'm here in sunny San Diego, where we are having a taste of warm weather, though it's not going to stay warm here. And here's a little travel tip. If you're ever planning a beach trip to San Diego, don't come in May or June. It's not warm. We have something called the May gray and the June gloom, and I always feel really bad when I see families on the beach and they look like they're from elsewhere and they planned this beautiful San Diego vacation, and it's always super cloudy in May and June. So we have this beautiful sunny spring, and then we get cloudy, and then we get really hot in July. So if you are tuning in, please say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from and who you're watching with. I already gave a warning that My cat Pookie has been walking around behind me, so you might see her in a minute. She likes to join the fun. All right, well, it is 11 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. So I am Lisa Bronner, and I am part of the Bronner family behind Dr. Bronner's. Dr. Bronner himself was my grandfather, and the company today is still run by family, my brothers David and Mike, and my husband Michael, my mom Trudy, and lots of other family, and lots of other fantastic people that help make Dr. Bronner's what it is today. My role in the company is to educate and reach out and talk about healthy living and our products. I write the Going Green with Lisa Bronner website, as well as the Facebook page here, or YouTube. You might be watching this on YouTube also. So welcome. And today I'm doing a live to talk about our label. The Dr. Bronner's label is kind of unusual, and it has a pretty neat story behind it, and we've made some small updates to it, and I wanted to go over those so that you knew what that was all about. So I'm so glad you're joining us. Hey Juliana, so glad you're with us today. Everybody else say hi, and feel free to put questions in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them, or any stories you want to tell about, maybe about when you first read the Dr. Bronner's label, or how you first got to know the Dr. Bronner soap. I love hearing people's Dr. Bronner stories, whether it was a friend, or you were at a festival, or how you first came to know the Dr. Bronner soap. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. The Castile soap. This is a quart bottle. It's our most popular size, and this is our most popular scent, which is the peppermint, my grandfather's original. But before I start talking about what's on this label and some of the recent updates, I want to read to you something I wrote, and I wrote it from my book. If you haven't seen it before, my book Soap and Soul. It's the book I wrote to compile all of my recipes and tips, but also I wanted to tell the stories of my family, my grandfather, but also my dad and my mom, and my own story, because I didn't come to know what I know, and I didn't come to prioritize what I now prioritize easily. I have my own circuitous path. So that's what I wrote about my book. But one thing I wrote about was the label, because it's one of the most popular questions we get. It's a very unusual label, and it has a pretty neat story behind it. So I was going to read to you what I wrote for the book and how the label came to be. So here we go. My grandfather wrote his message long before he thought to put it on a soap label. Our family's soap making goes back 5 generations, beginning in 1858, when my grandfather's grandfather, Emanuel Heilbronner, first made soap in the basement of his home in Laupheim, Germany. 3 of his sons, my great-grandfather Berthold among them, ventured off to establish their own soap-making operation in Heilbronn, Germany in 1903. They formed the Mataform Soap Company, eventually establishing 3 factories in the area. My grandfather Emil, later known as Dr. Bronner, was born in 1908 in Heilbronn, the oldest and the only son. Although he was raised according to his family's Orthodox Jewish traditions, he developed a broader view of the journey of humanity. When he started sharing his thoughts in the workplace, his father, Berthold, gave him the ultimatum to nix the philosophizing or leave. My grandfather chose the latter. Based on my knowledge of him later in his life, his choice is not surprising. He departed Hamburg on December 12, 1929, age 21. The ship's manifest records Emil Heilbronner as a 21-year-old single German male from Heilbronn who was a master soap maker. He spent his first years in America poor but progressing. In 1933, he married a fellow German immigrant, Paula Wolfart, and had 3 children, Ellen, Ralph, and James, my dad. My grandfather became naturalized in 1936, at which point Emil Heilbronner took the name Emanuel Theodor Bronner. He adopted the more formal name of Emanuel instead of the shortened version of his birth name, Emil, in honor of his grandfather, the original family soap maker. His choice of Theodore as a middle name is a mystery to us, and later he changed it to Herbert. However, we know for certain that he dropped the Heil because of its association with Hitler. The family back in Germany was facing ever-increasing restrictions as the Nazi Party moved against the Jewish people. My grandfather's sister, Louise, a chemist by training, fled to America in 1936, where she earned her doctorate and became one of the founding and first female professors at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and a published poet. My grandfather's youngest sister, Lottie, fled to Palestine in 1938, living on the Ein Gav kibbutz. Berthold, Franziska, and Friederike Bronner were arrested March 31st, 1942, and deported to the Theresienstadt concentration camp in what was then Czechoslovakia. Berthold and Friederike shortly died of illnesses brought on by the wretched conditions. Franziska survived 2 years at Theresienstadt before being sent to Auschwitz, where she was murdered in 1944. News of Emanuel's parents' demise and the war in general weighed heavily on Emanuel and Paula with their young family in Milwaukee. Paula was never strong, and she experienced a breakdown about which we have few details. She entered the Manteno State Mental Hospital in Kankakee, Illinois, where she died in 1944. These personal tragedies, compounded with world developments, impressed upon my grandfather the conviction that humanity was on the brink of self-destruction. Further, he keenly felt that the world was nearing environmental catastrophe with the advent of, quote, better living through chemistry. An ad line inspired by DuPont Chemical beginning in 1935, effectively persuading the public that nature is unpredictable and untrustworthy, and everything should be reliably synthesized in a lab. While many, in the face of such personal and global tragedies, would be driven to bitterness or at least resignation, he launched in the opposite direction. It energized him more than ever to unify the world, to remind humanity of its commonalities, to call each individual to action wherever they find themselves. His words were about peace and active care for ourselves, for each other, and the world around us. However, with his heavy German accent, rigid posture, and emphatically clipped way of speaking, he spoke exactly as he wrote, peppered with exclamation points. He was unnerving. Furthermore, his topics did not resonate with the 1940s audience. This reached an apex during a speech at the University of Chicago in 1946. Arrested on the charge of speaking without a permit, Emanuel was committed to the Elgin State Asylum in Illinois, where he underwent electroshock therapy. On his third escape attempt, he succeeded and headed to California. In Los Angeles, he found a more receptive audience. Pershing Square, still to this day a hotbed for speakers with cutting-edge ideas, became his platform. In gratitude to those who came to hear him speak, he began giving away to listeners small bottles of his family's unique liquid Castile soap, scented with skin-tingling peppermint essential oil, which he brewed in his tenement apartment. Eventually, he noticed that people would come for the soap and not stay to engage with the ideas. Unthwarted, he printed his ideas on the label of the soap so that when people took the soap and inevitably were closeted in the bathroom with nothing to read, they would turn to the words on the label, a brilliant understanding of human behavior. And thus, the iconic label was born. So that is how there came to be philosophy on a bottle of soap. It wasn't entirely planned. It's not a brilliant marketing strategy. In fact, I dare say that this violates a whole lot of marketing principles as far as like number of words to have on a label and font size and, you know, maybe not having words going in every different direction. But that's how it came to be. Now, my grandfather wrote a lot, and he was constantly editing his label. He knew he was reaching a lot of people, and he wanted his words to be perfect, and he felt if he had them perfect, then more people would embrace the idea of loving each other and reaching across their ethnic and racial and religious divides. So he was constantly changing the label and editing the label. He also was adding to it. And the different scents that came out in his lifetime, there were 5, have actually different portions of his writing on them. So that would be the peppermint, the almond, eucalyptus, lavender, and unscented. And so if you wanted to get more of his philosophy, you needed to buy like the whole range of soaps. So That's why you'll see he called it the moral ABC. It wasn't a religion. It was what he found to be universally said across religions. And so that's why he called it the ABC, the elementary principles. And so the first one is, if I'm not for me, who am I? Not nobody. But the second one, equally important, yet if I am only for me, what am I? Nothing. And the third one, if not now, when? And so it's really a call to action to care for ourselves and to care for each other. And we need to do it right now. So it goes on. So you can read more and more about that. And so over the years, as I said, he was constantly changing his words on the label. He did not change the formula inside, just as we don't do that either. But we also have made some changes, small changes over the years. Some of it has been regulatory because there are rules and regulations about products that you're selling. There was a change about like having a barcode. The old ones, he pre-printed a price on it. I guess he was really emphatic about the price at which it would be sold. But eventually, products needed barcodes, so that was on there. And then, having both ounces and metric came on later too. His phone number was on here for a lot of years. And that was kind of fun because he really wanted people to call to talk about the label. People might call to talk about the soap itself, and that was fine, but he really wanted people to call to talk about the label. And so I can actually date the labels based on what his phone number read because his area code changed 3 times. He didn't move, but the area code kept changing. And so 714 was his area code up until oh goodness, when did it change? I think around 82, and then it became 619, and then in the 90s it became 760. So you can always date the label. So he always had the ingredients front and center. That's never changed. We don't hide them. We want people to know what's in the soap. Some features of the soap that have always been called out: the concentration, the mildness, the versatility, that there's no foaming agents, no detergents, no synthetic scents in here, that it's plant-based. But this banner right here is something that we added the family soap makers since 1858, the 5 generations of soap making. Over the years, this banner has said some different things. We've called out our organic certification. We've called out some other causes from time to time. So that's kind of been reserved for whatever's top of mind. But what I wanted to talk about today in particular, and why I'm talking about the label now, is because we did an update of the label for a few reasons, and I wanted to go over it with you because some of you longtime users are going to notice, and I want you to make sure you know that why we did it, and we were very careful, very thoughtful behind it. I will say my grandfather changed the label all the time. We do not change the label very often at all. So here are some of the different things that we recently updated. First of all, you might notice the name, Magic Soap. It didn't say magic quite so prominently before. That's not a new word for us. In fact, our company name is Dr. Bronner's Magic Soap, so that's been in place for a long time. Putting it here is new. The word came to be applied to the soap in an article that Esquire magazine wrote about my grandfather in 1973. And a reporter had come out to interview my grandfather, and my grandfather is quite a character. He's very charismatic, loved to talk, as you could probably tell. He had a lot to say. And so the reporter spent some time with him and learned about the soap and used it and felt the tingle and all of that. And so in the article he wrote, in the title of the headline of the article, he talked about the magic soap. And my grandfather was rather taken with that. And so he used the term. And in fact, when the bar soap wasn't out at the time in 1973, but when the bar soap did come out, it was always called the magic soap. So this is new to see it here, but it's not new in our history or in our terminology. Still pure Castile, still 18-in-1. You'll notice the scent being called out so prominently. That was in response to customer feedback that the scent was a little hard to find. where we had it before, which was up here. And so we've made the scent a little bit more easy to find. Of course, once you know what color you're looking for, you're good. But that makes it easier. And then we also did a call out here below it that the soap is now made with regenerative organic certified oils. Now, the regenerative organic certification is one we are extremely proud of. It's the newest level of certification that takes the tenets of organic with fair trade, with animal welfare, and combines them all into one super strong, super hard to achieve certification. So we're really proud of our oils being regenerative organic certified. This applies to our coconut oil, which comes from primarily from Sri Lanka or Samoa, our palm kernel oil, which was coming from an operation in South America. Our palm oil in the bar soap is coming from Ghana. Beautiful operation there, showing how palm can be done really well and restoring the environment. Our olive oil coming from Israel and Palestine together, as well as our mint oils and the peppermint coming from northern India. So really neat that the regenerative organic certification is on here. Regenerative organic is about, well, regenerating, bringing life back into the system. Organic was about not harming it, which is good, but if there's already been harm done, then we need to fix that, and there's been a lot of harm done. So regenerative organic is about restoring and revitalizing land, communities, whole ecosystems. So a couple other changes that you'll see. You might recall that it used to say hemp, 18-in-1 hemp, pure Castile. We just pulled the word hemp out of up here. It still contains hemp seed oil. As I said, we did not change the formulation. We just removed the word from up here because we wanted to highlight different features. If you're curious about the whole hemp journey, I've got articles written about that. If you'll notice in the comments, I linked to one of the articles on my website, how the label was born, but if you go there, you can look up why we have hemp seed oil in the soap anyways. So that's not a change in the formulation, we just moved the word. A couple other things that you're going to see is we have an additional certification. The certifications are here on the side. One that we have added is the EWG verified certification. Now, EWG is the Environmental Working Group, and they do a fantastic job of advocating for consumers for safety in personal care products, cleaning products, tap water, all sorts of realms. So fantastic organization. They have a certification for personal care products called EWG Verified, and it's an analysis of the ingredients to verify that they are the best for our health, that they don't have anything harmful or hazardous in them. And so we recently achieved that certification or decided to pursue it. Didn't make any changes in order to receive it, but we were glad to be verified. So that's on here as well now. And then a couple other things that you're going to notice is over here we have icons for the uses. You know, it's always said 18-in-1, and there are many more than 18 uses. I can tell you that because I hear from you all the time. But we decided to make icons that were a little bit easier to see, to call out the uses. You know, body washing, facial washing, shaving, hair washing, bathe your dog with it, wash your makeup brushes, laundry dishes, camping, all-purpose spraying. All the uses, or many of the uses, top uses, are on here. So making that a little bit easier for you. And then lastly, and this is a super cool little feature. So a lot of this was prompted, like why now? It was prompted because of a change in recycling guidelines. Here in California, we needed to make the label smaller in order to make the bottle more recyclable to many of the facilities across California. So the label is smaller, it does not cover as much of the bottle. And so we were thinking, okay, so there's a gap. There didn't used to be much of a gap. There was like a half-inch gap, and now there's a big gap on the back. What are we going to do with that gap? And so our design team came up with this brilliant cameo. Look who is peering at you right there through the back of the bottle, but my grandfather, Dr. Bronner himself, and this picture was the picture that accompanied that 1973 article that used the word magic. And so by this point, my grandfather was already blind. This was 1973. I never knew him when he could see. So he wore those dark glasses. It kind of became his trademark. And so, but he's holding his iconic soap. And this picture is one that is very special to us. We have a large oil rendition of it at our plant in Vista, California. But that's what we decided to do with this larger gap on the back of the bottle. So there's my grandfather, Dr. Emanuel Bronner. I think it has, yeah, his lifespan, 1908 to 1997. So that's kind of cool. So you're going to see these changes reflected on the refills. If you haven't checked out the Dr. Bronner's refills, you're going to see them on here, Magic Soap Refill. Another update on the refill is that 86% less plastic per quart. That's gone up. We were able to reduce that even more. And so you'll see that there, and some of the other, the call out of the scent a little bit easier to see. You're going to see it on the bar soap, which, as I said, the bar soap was originally called the Magic Bar Soap, so this was actually going back to the beginning. This is rolling out in just a few months, so you might not see that quite yet. So I'm sure as stores go through their inventory, you're going to see some of the old label, some of this new label. So don't be surprised. It's all us. It's all the same soap. No change to the product itself. So. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions about, well, you can ask me about the label, you can ask me about the family, you can ask me about the soap itself, or whatever you want to know about. I would love to hear, again, your stories of how you first came to know Dr. Bronner soaps, who introduced you, did you find it in a store, did you find it in a friend's shower, what was the scent you first tried, if it was the peppermint, what was your reaction to it? Anyhow, I love hearing people's Dr. Bronner stories, so feel free to put those in the comments. And if you are not watching this live, you can still add to the comments. I will keep tabs on them and respond to any questions, and I would love to hear what you have to say. So that's a little update on the Dr. Bronner, little look back and look ahead at the Dr. Bronner's label, where it came from, and why there have been some changes and what the changes are to the label. And as I started with saying, all of the scents that were my grandfather's original 5 have different parts of his writing, so you'll need to look at all of them. The lavender's got some of his poetry here on the bottom, so that's pretty cool. Anyhow, so check that out, and I am so glad you've joined me for this little chat. Again, as I said earlier, if you have a topic you'd like me to cover live, I enjoy doing this, and I'm intending to do it a little bit more. Otherwise, if you have more questions, just join our Facebook conversation, hop over to my website, lisabronner.com, go and green with Lisa Bronner, and I look forward to hearing from you down the road. So thanks so much. I will see you the next time we go green.